Hi, I'm Lucy Paget. The next series of classes I'm going to be teaching are about learning to cultivate a healing state. The healing state is something we need to learn. It's so important, and it is a practice. It is a practice in which I use movement and all the knowledge that I have gleaned over the years as a hands-on practitioner, as an osteopath, where I've learned to use my hands in a very nuanced, subtle way to feel congestion, inflammation, compression, scar tissue, nervous system dysregulation, and to translate that back into health. And I'm going to try and explain that in this video and share with you a really important feature of our health that relates to centeredness, the feeling of centeredness, and what that means physically and energetically, and the feeling of spaciousness. And these two aspects of wellness are so grounding and profoundly important. And these classes that I'm going to be teaching are really for women who want to put the focus back onto wellness. So typically, and who I encourage to come to class, are women who've struggled with exhaustion, women who perhaps have had surgery recently, struggled with autoimmune issues, and maybe had an illness of some kind that is just really depleting, where you need to put your health back on track. And of course, there are many ways in which you can start to put your health back on track. Our nutrition is so important. Our movement is so important. Nervous system, hormonal regulation, which is what I teach, is at the foundation or at the core of what I teach, is absolutely vital. And that then gives us the capacity, once we learn how to regulate ourselves, then we have the capacity to make better choices, to do more exercise, because we need to learn to put our bodies into an anti-inflammatory state. We need to learn how to, therefore, reduce inflammation in the body. We need to learn how to get the sympathetic, parasympathetic components of our nervous system working in harmony, where the things that trigger us don't pull us so far out of ourselves, but we can start to rein that in and create balance within the nervous system. And that has an effect on the hormonal system, especially on our stress hormone cortisol, which is the cortisol when we talk about adrenal fatigue, that is so often, it can be low or it can be high. Let's just say out of balance. The work that I do, I have this understanding of how the body works, and I can translate that to you in a way that is just a practice. So I have all this knowledge and I've been able to put it into a practice that is incredibly grounding, incredibly centering, and incredibly wise, important work. And I just want to share with you one aspect of healing which I find fascinating and have always found fascinating. So when I started learning osteopathy, the notion of midline came up. And of course, in many traditions, midline has practices energetically. And from a physiological perspective, we can also look at the way that our midline is related to our nervous system, how our midline is related to our spine, to our muscles, and then also embryologically. So this is the little tidbit that not many people know, because it's really just taught as a really important feature of the work within osteopathy. The body obviously has blueprints for healing. And those blueprints, interestingly, have a way of referencing back to the organizational forces that create us. So as we are going from a cluster of cells within the embryo to the incredible complexity that is the body, with highly differentiated tissues within it, the first thing that happens, do we just take it back to basics, is that this clump of cells starts to organize a primitive streak in the center. And the primitive streak is the first structure, it is the midline. And that primitive streak, the tissues, the cells, go in and then migrate out from there. And as they migrate out, they start to become this, they start to become that. But always, the body knows how to reference back to midline. And when I do healing, I know that I have done a good job when I can feel someone's midline. I also know that I've done a good job when I feel not just midline, but also what feels like the space that each of us takes up, the space, our living, breathing space around us that is our comfortable zone, our energy field, we could say. And the two things together, when I do hands-on work, I know I've done a good job when I can feel those things. I know that there is an incredible regulation that has happened, an incredible capacity for that person to recharge and start to be well again. And in classes, and as it relates to this series of classes that I am teaching, the work, the vital work, is learning to get ourselves centered, having a practice that we can do that for ourselves, and the understanding that centeredness is not just a nice life coaching concept that helps us to get clarity on what our next steps are. Yes, it does that. But centeredness gives us neurological reset, rebalance, so that the triggers of the nervous system that pull us out of a sense of centeredness and that pull us out of wellness can start to be harmonized. That has an important effect on the hormonal system, an important effect on the adrenals, an important effect on the way in which we breathe, a really important effect on our digestion. So often we have this knot of tension in the diaphragm that we live with, and as a result of this knot of tension, we breathe shallowly, and that shallow breath is a failure to massage the abdominal organs and have good abdominal digestive health. So there is such vital work. I think I've said that many, many times, forgive me, but it really is important. And I really hope that you will come to class. And if you have had a health challenge recently or in these last years, then this is work that is wise work and a wise practice in a very small, super cool group where there is no more than 6 people in class, where we do what is needed in class. I don't script it because I've got plenty of experience to know what I need to teach. When you show up and you bring whatever you're holding so that we can do the healing work that is needed. So please come and join me for this series of classes, which really uses movement, gentle movements, a lot of movements that bring aspects of Qigong into a practice that helps to harmonize the body, and gentle movements. So it's not a workout, it is a working in, and using movement, sensation, awareness to come home to yourself, to feel centered and spacious. Those two important words, centeredness and spaciousness, is what I have to teach you, and the effects on your health are really, really profound.